I've been collecting kind of thoughts on writing that probably will never get published as thoughts on writing, and a bunch of it is actually more. I could definitely teach a class on fiction writing just with this pile of cards here.
You could teach a class on like almost anything.
But I don't know about that. You have broken through a non-fiction writing wall this week. Do you want more fodder from where all that came from?
Well, sure, that's fine. I mean, maybe for a few minutes we could dig into your pile a little bit. I mean, that's you being super vulnerable and sharing like your heart. So are you at a place where you want to do that?
Well, I mean, I don't know where else to use these things. I'll look at them sometimes. I'm not going to write a book on I don't think I'm going to write a book on writing. But, having gone through this process, it's not just about writing. It's about art. It's about pursuing something that you want to pursue. So I think this applies to more than just writing. Mm-hmm. Although maybe it doesn't at times. But the idea, don't mistake the thing that's killing your writing for the thing that makes your writing work. And for me personally, that's all about believing that good writing's about good vocabulary.
So
choosing the right words.
Is it making your writing into a vocation? Like, how are you using the word work?
I'm using the word work there like that would make it good.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So don't mistake the thing that you think your reader wants.
Okay.
For the thing your reader, who first is you, doesn't really want. Right? And so for me, again, this is all about how I hyper focus in on
crafting a perfect sentence.
Okay. And that includes not only making sure I listen to all the grammarians about what makes for a good sentence, but that I also don't use boring words, always have some level of flair, more or less writing poetry, right? Which is not what good fiction or nonfiction is and really shouldn't be. So one thing I'm trying to learn is that the goal of the writer is not to use the most beautiful words, but the most invisible ones. If you're stopping to look at the word, you're not reading the story.
Okay.
So I can make this really cool use of language, but it might actually stop you from reading my book.
Yeah.
Right? So the goal is to get out of the way and let the story unfold in its telling. And so the problem is not common language, but flowery pride that is the enemy of a compelling yarn. There's some...
See what you did there. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Can't even write the note without it being a poet.
Consistently overbuilding stifles the soul. Obligation is not inspiring to anyone. Trying to believe that it's okay to use the same word twice in a sentence, especially if there's not another word for it.
Just get it out.
Yeah, and
get your story out.
Even in editing, don't over edit it. I mean, it's true. The passive voice, if it's every sentence, will slow down your reader. So removing the he felt he was going to's, right? And just having him do it, right? That's a good trick. It's a good habit to develop. But you're not going to write a whole book without a passive voice sentence in it. There's going to be one, right? And probably needs to be one.
Sure.
Right, at some point. One of the other thoughts is, I really like this one. Change it to the book you want to write.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't really want to write that. Well, then
don't.
Then don't. Make it the one you want to write. Well, here's one. There is no such thing as fiction. That's one of my thoughts. Writing a story is the struggle to make sense of your psyche. the unifying idea you are hiding from yourself. You will not manufacture soul from theory. The book is never about a theme. The theme is about the plot is about the character is you. Oh, here we go. I get hung up on the tension between desiring to avoid info dump, desiring poetic delivery, desiring to deliver the picture in my head. All the rules about do this, don't do that, congeal into a voice of self-doubt.
So you don't do
stops
anything.
me from writing at all.
Yeah.
The only shame is being too proud to write something worth improving. I like that one.
Oh, interesting. So the fear of, well, it's not going to be good enough, so I'm not going to even try. Huh.
The draft is not the final work, but the map of possibility. Stop trying to fill the whole page. Gems are found by digging in the sand.
What does stop trying to fill the whole page mean to you?
Well, I mean, if you're working on a computer especially, like the tedium of like feeling like you have to fill up space to have achieved writing is this kind of, what's the word when you avoid doing things?
Procrastinators.
It's like a procrastination drug, right? Like it's like when someone assigns an essay, like 1,500 words, you're like, and you're always thinking about how many words as opposed to like just saying
about.
something.
I know, it's
right?
such a weird thing. Why they even do that?
Because
you need
they're
a
trying to make
10-page paper.
They're trying to make people who aren't made for
What?
certain types of education do it anyway. Is why.
I just
try
feel
to show
bad
you
for the prof that has
so-
to read the 10-page paper. Somebody who doesn't want to write a 10-page paper.
I use these 6x4 cards for like all
Everything.
writing now, and I even do have a book that attempts to explain why I think this is better. But you don't have to. You can learn how to use smart noting without these. But these are like they're like gold. And when I was initially trying to work on fiction on these,
Oh yeah, how'd that work?
I would try to like write it like I was writing on a computer.
Okay.
Right? Like it's just going to fill the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And so I'd come back to try to keep writing, and I'd pick up one that was like half full.
Yeah.
And it would just make me tired.
Okay.
So I started, and the same goes for like working through an old manuscript in order to improve it on paper. So I'd print it out, and I'm gonna like make notes and stuff on it, and it would just make me tired.
Huh.
And so instead, I just started writing one sentence on a time on a new card off that page, and it was always much easier just to write one more sentence. Like it's really not that hard to write a sentence. Right? So to write one sentence at a time is a very valuable Kickstarter.
Do you ever move past that?
Oh yeah,
though?
it's
Like,
grown.
where
It's
you're-
grown. So like so working on Earth right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at my stack for Earth, I mean every card has got paragraph on it.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to fill up the space. I just am so caught in the story that I keep writing.
Okay. So I was wondering, like, that seems really frustrating if I'm like wanting to keep writing and it's just flowing.
No, you don't have to
keep getting new cards.
But like I'll stop earlier or sooner based upon like, okay, so what's the next sentence that I'm going to look at, or what's the next thing? So paragraphs start. But instead of writing multiple paragraphs on a page, although sometimes with dialogue there'll be 3 paragraphs on a page, but generally it's like a paragraph per card, give or take, and that allows again for, I mean, one of the terrors of writers is the blank page.
Really?
Because you stare at it and you don't know where to start. What smart noting again has done, I love a blank page. I'm like, I like get to this point, I'm like, I don't know what to do next. I'm gonna start a new page then.
Yeah.
You know, because that's gonna free me up.
Yeah.
Because there's no baggage to it. And since they're so easy to move around and reshuffle, you don't even have to worry about order that much.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so I can see how a computer page would be more daunting of like, I'm going to write 1 page today. Ooh, of a computer, that's so much more daunting than I'm going to write a sentence on my little 6x4 card today and just going to write 1 sentence.
if I only wrote 4 sentences on a computer page, I would look at it and feel like I hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
If I write 4 sentences on 4 note cards, it feels amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So it's more like out of the virtual reality again.
I want to do more.
Sure.
4 sentences on the computer, I look at it, it's like I haven't done very much yet.
Interesting.
I'm not inspired to do more. I'm afraid. I'm struggling. I'm at a war. On the page again, it just, don't get me wrong, like starting is still tough. Every day this week when I've written, making myself sit down to do it, has been, you're fighting this resistance idea. There is if you want to read a good book on writing, it is called The War of Art.
Oh, okay.
And he personifies this character, the resistance.
I'm actually reading a book by a guy who read that book and then wrote his book. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
So the resistance is always there. It's the voice that says don't do it. Again, smart noting is this nice, not a hack. It's a building of a natural path to smooth away resistances. To give the resistance no voice. But again, the initial sit down, fight against my psyche. No one wants to read this. Why are you doing this? That's a different fight than what's the next sentence, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen next? And so in this rendition of smart noting, taken from Smart Noting, a book about smart noting, which I need that big board we worked on buying yesterday.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be good.
Manage that. How do I take what I learned from that into fiction? This step has been mainly built so far off of previous manuscript, but it's working like a dream. I'm about to hit the point where I gotta come up with new stuff. That'll be its own little challenge, but that's where that bit about the only problem is being too proud to write something worth improving. What I will do before I try to write all the story is I will write 1 sentence per card of the next thing that happens. Just here's what happens, here's what happens, here's what happens, and then I'll go back and try to turn those into 4 sentences on separate cards, and then go back, and by that time I think I'll just be kind of where I am, where I just write what happened. So, but you have to be able to like start with something that isn't your end product. That's not where I'm at yet, but that's where again where'd it go? Gems are found by digging in the sand, and that draft one. Where's the draft one? The draft is not the final work, but the map of possibility, right? So when you first write a sentence, especially stop trying to make it poetic. Yeah. Right. Just say it in the most boring way possible that you will remember what happened. Bob went to the store. Bob met somebody. There was a fight. Right. Then go back. How did Bob get to the store? Bob went to the store in a car that was really flashy and cool, right? In the store, there was suddenly this ninja, right? And then he pulled out his sword, right? But I just made all that up. I'd never thought that through, right? And I started with this very bland thing. The key to writing then is to free yourself to be bland, to write, not an outline. Don't sit there and try to bullet point an outline and plan. Don't plan. But write something bad that can be good. Believe that it gets good when you then dig in the ground of what you wrote. I asked the question, how did Bob get to the store, right? What did the guy he met look like, right? What did they fight with, right? And so you ask the questions about what you already wrote, and it's so much easier. Your brain's just going to like, well, this. You just kind of make it up because your brain's going to want to. Good. If you're into fiction writing, which we already have discussed. Like, is it even godly to write fiction? There is no such thing as fiction. There is no such thing as fiction.
Well, thank you for opening that up to us a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I still got to prove it to myself that I can actually follow through. By committing myself to y'all, this book's going to be done by the end of the year. That's actually one of the ways to like. That's a Tony Robbins thing again, by the way. To compel yourself to shame. Actually, use shame or guilt or fear of disappointing others as a way to motivate yourself.